The temperature had dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius, and the Alaskan wind screamed like a ghost outside Ethan Cole's lonely cabin. Inside, the retired soldier sat beside a dying fire, listening to the crackle of wood and the echo of memories he couldn't silence. Then, scratch, scratch. He froze. Slowly turning toward the frosted window, he saw a German shepherd standing in the storm, paw pressed to the glass, her eyes pleading through the snow. Behind her, two tiny puppies shivered, barely alive. Every instinct told Ethan to stay inside, to ignore it. But when she lifted her paw again, weaker this time, something deep inside him shifted. He reached for the door handle, unaware that opening it would change everything forever. The wind howled like a wounded beast across the Alaskan wilderness, shaking the wooden walls of Ethan Cole's isolated cabin. The temperature had plunged to 30 below zero, and the world outside was buried beneath a suffocating blanket of snow. Inside, a small fire crackled weakly in the stone fireplace, barely holding back the cold. Ethan sat alone in his chair, staring into the flames, his breath visible in the dim light. For years, the former soldier had chosen solitude over society, the silence of the mountains over the noise of the world. But that night, something felt different, the kind of silence that carried a warning. Then came the sound, faint but sharp, a scratching against the window pane. Ethan stiffened. He turned his head slowly, heart tightening as he peered through the frosted glass. A German shepherd stood outside, snow clinging to her fur, her paw pressed against the window, as if pleading. Behind her, two tiny puppies shivered, their bodies barely visible in the swirling snow. For a moment, Ethan just stared. Every instinct told him to stay inside, to let nature take its course. But as the mother dog lifted her paw again, eyes filled with desperate hope, something deep inside him stirred. Something he thought had died long ago on the battlefield. He stood up, his breath shaky. "What the hell are you doing out there?" he whispered, moving toward the door. The storm roared louder, waiting for his decision. The blizzard outside howled like a living thing, battering the walls as if warning him not to open that door. He could see the mother German shepherd through the frost-covered glass, her fur stiff with ice, her paw still raised against the window. The two puppies huddled close to her, their tiny bodies trembling. Every part of Ethan's soldier-trained mind screamed caution. He'd learned the hard way that hesitation could cost lives, but so could misplaced trust. "You're probably lost. Or worse," he muttered under his breath. Yet, when their eyes met again through the glass, those pleading, intelligent eyes, something cracked open inside him. That a memory flashed before him. A desert night. AK-9 named Duke, and the moment he'd lost his best friend to an explosion. He'd promised himself he'd never feel that kind of pain again. But now, staring at these helpless souls fighting the cold, that promise felt hollow. With a heavy sigh, he unlatched the door. A gust of icy wind slammed into him as snow swirled into the cabin. The shepherd stepped forward, cautious but trusting, her puppies stumbling in behind her. Warmth met cold. Two worlds collided, and Ethan Cole's life quietly began to change forever. The door shut with a heavy thud, sealing out the blizzard's roar. Ethan stood motionless for a moment, watching as the German shepherd shook the snow from his fur, sending icy droplets across the cabin floor. Her two pups stumbled beside her, their tiny paws slipping on the wooden planks before collapsing in a shivering heap near the fire. The warmth from the flames reached them slowly, their breathing softening as they curled together. Ethan crouched, his movements cautious. "Easy, girl," he murmured, holding out a hand. The mother dog eyed him warily at first, then lowered her head, a gesture of tired trust. Up close, he could see the scars etched into her side, faint lines that spoke of old wounds. Someone had trained her, disciplined her. She wasn't just any stray. He opened a can of leftover stew, setting it on a plate. The shepherd approached it carefully, her ribs faintly visible under her thick coat. She nudged the food toward her pups first before eating herself, and Ethan's chest tightened at the sight. This wasn't wild behavior. It was loyalty. As the fire crackled, Ethan noticed a faint glint under the dog's neck. A metal tag, half buried in her fur, scratched and faded from time. He reached for it slowly, brushing the snow away. The letters were almost unreadable, but one word stood out clearly: Rex. Ethan turned the small metal tag over in his fingers, wiping away the frost until the engraving became clear. Rex 09 K9 Rescue Unit. His brow furrowed. So, she wasn't just any dog. She was trained, disciplined, and once belonged to someone. A rescue unit? He whispered, glancing toward her. The shepherd lifted her head at the sound of his voice. As if recognizing the word, he grabbed his old radio set, twisting the knobs in vain. Static hissed through the cabin. The storm had cut off all communication. No calls could go out tonight. He sat back, rubbing his temple, his mind spinning. What was a rescue K9 doing this deep in the wilderness with two puppies? He poured himself a cup of coffee, staring at the fire as it danced shadows across the room. In the glow, he imagined her story, the avalanche warnings on the news, the missing mountain patrol reported weeks ago. Maybe Rex had survived when her handler hadn't. Maybe she'd been wandering ever since, protecting her pups from the freezing wild. Ethan looked at her again, the flicker of the fire reflecting in her eyes. "You've been through hell, haven't you?" He murmured softly. For the first time, Rex rested her head on the floor, letting out a low, weary sigh. As if finally safe, the cabin walls groaned as another gust slammed against them, rattling the windows. The storm hadn't eased, it had grown worse. Snow battered the roof like 1,000 fists, and the wind screamed through every crack. Ethan threw another log into the fire, glancing nervously toward the door. Rex was pacing again, her ears twitching, tail rigid. Something outside had caught her attention. "Relax, girl," Ethan said, but she didn't. Instead, she ran to the door and barked sharply. Once, twice, then again, louder. The sound sent chills through him. This wasn't random barking. It was an alert. Ethan grabbed his flashlight and opened the door. A blast of freezing air hit him like a wall. Rex bolted into the storm, turning once to look back, eyes blazing with urgency. He didn't think. He just followed. Through the swirling snow, he heard it, faint cries carried by the wind. Voices. Human voices. His pulse spiked. "Hold on," he shouted, trudging through knee-deep snow. Rex led the way, her paws sure even in the chaos. Moments later, they found them. A small family huddled near an overturned snowmobile, barely conscious, frost clinging to their faces. Ethan knelt beside them, shouting into the storm. You going to be okay?" Rex barked once more, guiding the rescue home, by the time the storm began to fade. The first light of dawn was breaking over the mountains, painting the snow in soft shades of gold. Ethan's cabin had become a refuge, the fire burning strong, steam rising from metal mugs as the rescued family huddled under blankets. The paramedics who arrived later couldn't believe what they saw. The veteran who'd saved 3 lives with the help of a dog who shouldn't have even survived herself. One of the officers knelt beside Rex, gently reading her faded tag. His eyes widened. "This dog's been missing for over a month," he said. "Her handler didn't make it. She must have been searching ever since." Ethan looked at Rex, who now lay quietly near the fire, her pups curled beside her. "You found the right place to stop searching," he murmured. The officer smiled, then glanced at one of the puppies still nestled against Ethan's boot. "Seems like that one's made up his mind," he said softly. Ethan chuckled, scratching the pup's ear. For the first time in years, the loneliness in his cabin, and in his heart, was gone. The snow outside still whispered with the wind, but inside, warmth and life had finally returned. Rex had brought him more than company. She'd brought him purpose again,